to From Stocks to Kitchen, and I am your host, Stockbar Live. And hold up, I lied. Cut. All right, take two. Welcome to Midnight Munchies. Midnight Munchies, and I am your host, Stockbar Live. And tonight we are making what someone told me is called Florina. About to do the Florina thing. About to Florina this thing out, you know what I'm saying? With just a little bit of oil. We about to Florina this thing out. About to see how this play out. This ought to be good. Alright. We're gonna need some pasta. So first we need some pasta water. We're gonna get some pasta water, nice. Some pasta water. Alright, so I use this chicken seasoning my mama gave me. I used that last time and that came out pretty good. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm not gonna fix it. I couldn't chicken this thing up. Nice, chicken this thing up. Wait a minute. I got a bottle of water first. Shit. Got a bottle of water first. Shit, anybody else hot? Yo. Okay, now all we gotta do is season up this bad boy in. Onions on this bad boy. Give that 5 months. We'll give that 5 months. It should be ready to flip. That's how mama did it. She had the fire up real high. So I'm gonna try that too. Should work. Yeah, this should work. No, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe she doesn't have the top on. Shit. That's really hard. Okay. My boy ready? All right. We good. We start. Everybody ready? All right, close enough. Well, I'm gonna put a little bit of this bad boy in there. Got enough turmeric. Oh, I guess I can do a little bit of this right here. That's enough. And why not? Just a little razzle dazzle. Just a little razzle dazzle. A little razzle, a little dazzle. That's all. Just a little razzle dazzle. Stay tuned, everyone. That's hot. Yeah, I might take that down. Florina, Cecilia, Florina, Cecilia. Okay, I'm getting hot. Everything in 5 minutes yet? You don't worry no more. I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I did that. Cut the fire way, way down. This bad boy on the chain. Mix that up a little bit. Okay, we good to go right there. We good to go right there. And just in case you ain't. No, I don't know this time. Next time. Right, got some onions. And kind of use a little. We market fresh. Market fresh. Let's see. December 13th. Mm-hmm.
Independent news. This is USA Tonight with Brad Holcomb. Good evening. Today is Black Monday, the day the Dow dropped more than 500 points. Today the Dow dropped more than 22%, almost double the rate of the Black Monday that signaled the beginning of the crash of 1929. But this crash of 1987 is not just an American experience. Around the world, stock markets fell faster than a skydiver without a parachute. The panic starting in Tokyo this morning while the West slept. One cause of the sell-off was reaction to last week. 1993, German engineer Rudolf Gantenbrink was inside the Great Pyramid of Giza studying an unexplored shaft in the Queen's Chamber. What's interesting about this shaft is that, unlike the two shafts found in the King's Chamber, they don't open up to the outside. Instead, they seemingly go about 10 feet into the wall and lead to a dead end, meaning the purpose of it was still unknown. So Rudolf created a little robot that was equipped with a camera and a light small enough to fit inside of this 8-inch wide square shaft. And when they sent this robot into the tunnel, something happened that would change his life forever. Once the robot reached what was supposed to be the end of the shaft, they noticed that it kept going, but rather than continue a straight line. So my name is Ryan Cox. I am the Director of Marketing for Worthman Construction based out of Gainesville, Florida. What EagleView is a roofing program that allows us to get an automatic measurement of any roof that we can dream of. So we can order an EagleView report that then gives the estimated measurements in squares, in total area, pitches, and does all that measurement for us. So EagleView allows us to do that without even having to get up on the roof. EagleView is not something that we used a lot before Job Nimbus, and now we're starting to ramp up our use just a little bit, where I just click a button in Job Nimbus and it orders it for me and it automatically attaches it. So it'll. Most people use ChatGPT like it's a fancier, smarter Google, just to get quick answers and search the web. But when we do that, we're really missing out on the most powerful features that it has to offer. And when used right, it can seriously boost your productivity. And probably 90% of people don't even know they exist. So in this video, I'm going to show you what those features are and how you can best use them. Let's dive in. ChatGPT has a free version and 2 tiers of a paid version, $20 USD a month or $200 USD a month. I'll share with you a lot of the features that already come with the free version, and I'll also share with you some of the features that come with the paid version, just to help you decide if the paid version features are worth your money. And if you're an Apple user, I have a special treat for you as well. A cool feature that ChatGPT has that's also available in the free version is being able to access custom GPTs. So you'll see on the side that says GPTs on the left-hand column. If you click on that, it actually has other engines, if you will, that can work with ChatGPT. A popular one is Canva that I use. So if you click on Canva, you can start to chat using Canva as a plugin to work with your ChatGPT. I'm going to ask it to design a thumbnail for me, and let's see what it comes up with. So it came up with 2 thumbnail designs. What this allows me to do is I can actually open these thumbnails or this work that it generated in Canva itself on that platform. So let's say I wanted to use this one, option 1, and it'll open it up in Canva, where now I can go ahead and edit it any way that I like. If you're an Apple user, have you ever wished that you could replace Siri with a more powerful AI like ChatGPT? Well, you actually can. If you go into your settings menu, you can go under Apple Intelligence. And from here, just make sure that Apple Intelligence is checked off or it's turned on, which means that you would have to have a device like an iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max or higher or more recent. Then you would go down to here under extensions that says ChatGPT. If you click on that, you can use ChatGPT and click Setup. Next.
and enable ChatGPT. Now, once you have enabled ChatGPT to work with Siri, essentially what it does is if you ask Siri to do certain tasks that it's not able to handle, it would actually ask ChatGPT to do it for them. Write me a YouTube script that's about 10 minutes in length that talks about the best use case scenarios of ChatGPT.
Y'all can see that? I know y'all can
Make a
see
note
that.
out of this. So you'll notice here that you can even instruct it to make a new note, and it'll actually add notes for you to further work on. Now, if you always want Siri to use ChatGPT, you can just ask it, hey Siri, ask ChatGPT to do such and such. And it'll actually use ChatGPT to do the task that you asked it to do. Another cool feature that is available for free users is called Canvas. The way you can use Canvas mode is to start your prompt with the word Canvas. And then you can ask it to produce any kind of video for you. And you'll notice that it pulls it up in a different format where you use split screen now. Canvas mode is really useful when you're writing or working with code. Essentially, the way you want to see this is that you're really collaborating with ChatGPT. Before, if you wanted to edit the document or edit the work that ChatGPT has generated, you wouldn't be able to. You would have to ask it to regenerate it all over again and ask it to remove certain parts. But now what you can do in Canvas mode is that you can go directly into the work that it has produced and you can just edit it yourself. It's almost like you're sharing a Google Doc version, but instead you're sharing it with ChatGPT. So for example, if I wanted to change this word, hey everyone, to hi, you can just simply do that. Have you ever been reluctant to use AI like ChatGPT because you're worried about the data that it's collecting or the personal information that it might be holding on to? Well, there's actually modes with ChatGPT where you can instruct it not to remember any of the prompts or the information that you have fed it, so that you can be best assured that it wouldn't be using the information or holding on to the information that you put into it. So there's a few ways that you can do that. In both the free and the paid version, you'll see at the top right-hand corner, next to your profile letter there, this dotted kind of chat bubble. Now, when you click on that, it's actually going to turn on a temporary chat. It's kind of like an incognito mode for your web browser. So when you click on that, it tells you what this means. Temporary chats, not in history, no model training, and the memory is turned off. So you can give it a prompt. So you can give it any prompt that you'd like. And then after you've done that, you can go ahead and just delete this particular temporary chat. You can delete it. And you'll notice that it's actually not anywhere saved on your left-hand column, nor will it save any of the data that you have fed. So this is particularly good if you just wanted to generate like an image. And sometimes I wanted like a fun image that had a picture or an image of one of my kids or for myself, and I don't want it to remember what they look like, or for that matter, for it to store that data. We can use a temporary chat like so. Now, if you just want to permanently have ChatGPT never remember any of your data or information, you can go into your profile here by clicking on the top right corner, then go to settings, and there's a few ways that you can turn this off. You can go to data controls, and up here in data controls, it says improve the model for everyone, and it's by default turned on, which means that it will take your data and then it'll help train the model with what you feed it. You can turn that off, so model improvement, improve the model for everyone. And if you turn that off, it basically means that it won't be taking your data to train the model. Another place that you can turn off a lot of the saving would be under personalization. If you go under personalization, there's the memory section here, and by default again, it's turned on where you reference saved memories and reference chat history. You can toggle these off, and it won't remember any of your past conversations, or it won't remember any of your previous memories. Now, there's pros and cons to this. ChatGPT, if you allow it to remember what you have, the information that you have fed it before, you won't have to repeat yourself over and over again. But for people who really value privacy and don't want any of your information to be stored, these are ways that you can turn it off so that ChatGPT doesn't hold on to your information. Now, another cool feature that you could use with ChatGPT is what we call voice mode. If you look in the chat box here, you might have noticed that there's a microphone on the bottom right corner of that box, and right next to it, there's also something that's called voice mode. The difference between these two is that the microphone just dictates the instruction that you give it without you having to type it out, and just transcribes the instruction that you want to give it. But right next to it, if you click on use voice mode, what this voice mode does is it allows you to converse with ChatGPT like it's another person. Hello there.
Hi there. How's it going?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. What can I do for you today?
I have a job interview coming up with McDonald's, and I would like to practice with you.
Of course. I'd be happy to help you practice. Let's get started. I'll ask you some common interview questions, and you can respond as if you're in the interview. Ready? Here's the first question. Why do you want to work at McDonald's?
Because I like your food.
That's a good start. You can also mention any other reasons, like the opportunity to learn new skills or work in a team environment. Ready for the next question? Tell me about a time you provided excellent customer service.
So as you can see, it'll actually provide you feedback as to whether or not your answer was good and how you could improve the answer that you gave it. So I thought this was a pretty neat feature for you to rehearse things like job interviews, or maybe you can even provide it a script when you're trying to memorize or rehearse for a play or a presentation that you have, and that it could listen to how you present and give you some constructive feedback as to how you can improve your presentation. Another really powerful feature that ChatGPT has is the ability to be able to look at something visually and be able to understand what it's looking at. I gave it a prompt to suggest certain times or the best times for me to be able to work on my YouTube channel, and it takes me a certain number of hours to be able to do certain things like scripting, editing, filming, and such. And then I gave it an image of my calendar for it to visually read, and suggest any good times for me to work on. So let's see what it says. So if you look here, it's scheduled in a total of 21 hours for me to work on my YouTube channel, and I broke it up into several days and which days or which hours of the day that it suggests that I schedule my time into. Now, I understand that you can probably connect your Google Calendar to ChatGPT for it to do this a little bit better, but when I experimented with it, it actually didn't do a very good job of being able to read the calendar when I directly connected it to it. So when I took a screenshot of the calendar and fed it into the prompt, this actually works a lot better. Now, as you can see, the free ChatGPT version is packed full of features that you can already use very well. But if you've been always wondering if it's worth that extra bit of money to pay $20 a month and what features it comes with, well, these are some of the features that I thought the average user might be able to use quite well. Now, one feature that I thought was really cool with the paid version is the ability to be able to share your screen with ChatGPT. I'm going to be demonstrating this using my iPad, but it can also be used on your iPhone or your iPad as well. This is not a feature that's available for a MacBook or a computer as of yet. Now, when you open up the ChatGPT app, on the bottom right corner for the voice mode, you would click on that. And then you'll also notice on the bottom left that you'll have the camera icon as well. So I'm looking at a mouse here. Would you be able to tell me what kind of mouse this is?
Sure. That looks like a Logitech MX Master Mouse. It's got that ergonomic design and the side scroll wheel, so it's pretty recognizable.
Do you know what model of the MX Master it is?
It looks like it might be the MX Master 3, judging by the design and the placement of the buttons. It's a really popular one for productivity.
Now, as you can see, this could be immensely helpful when you're out and about and you wanted to be able to understand or ask questions about something that you're looking at live at the moment. You would be able to pull out your phone, just turn on the camera, and ask ChatGPT, what am I looking at, and ask whatever questions that you would like for it to answer. Another very useful feature that I find on the paid version is what we call projects. On my screen here, I have on the left-hand side the paid version and on the right-hand side the free version. Now, if I look at the...
You sent your nephew a present, right?
Oh, hey, you can use target.
got raped in prison. It is true that statistically speaking, if a man is to be raped, it'll most likely occur in prison. That fact scares straight-laced Tom even straighter. What's your song?
But what if we get caught? We'll get arrested and anally raped. Hey guys, what are you doing?
Just smoking a joint. You want a hit?
Yeah, right. You guys can go to jail and get anally raped if you want.
Niggers. And that's why I'm pushing for a constitutional amendment that would protect the white man's right to say any incarnation of the word nigger at any time, spell any way, whether it be N-I-G-G-U-H, G-G-A-G-G-A-H, or a silent P at the beginning of it, without fear of persecution or litigation.
I don't think black people should ever use racist words when describing other black people. And if you do, then you're a sample and the cook.
If someone in your local town owned 3 to 5 different businesses, say a cake shop, maybe a dry cleaner, you'd probably say that they're a pretty well-diversified business person. Yet, when it comes to investing in the stock market, experts suggest holding upwards of 20 to 30 different holdings. Now, in today's video, I'll share with you guys a clip where Buffett shares his insights on diversification. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this topic, so leave a comment down below on how many stocks you think you should hold in your portfolio. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I hope you enjoy the quick clip.
My name is Mark Hake. I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Cool. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Oh, sweet, sweet. This has been a cool. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Oh, sweet, sweet. This has been a terrifying night so far for me. Oh, how am I gonna follow her? Oh, no, just kidding. What? No, you want to talk, so I'm just giving you the floor. Yeah. You sure? No, you just made it weird for everyone. Do you do this all the time? Is this your job? Did I fuck up? I'm sorry. Usually just go to places and make it weird.
Sure, I'll wait. But we gotta run that first part back in. If you don't mind, please, sir.
Cool. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Oh, sweet, sweet. This has been a terrifying night so far for me. Oh, how am I gonna follow her? Oh, no, just kidding. What? No, you want to talk, so I'm just giving you the floor. Yeah. You sure? No, you just made it weird for everyone. Do you do this all the time? Is this your job? Did I fuck up? I'm sorry. Usually just go to places and make it weird. Do you knock on windows during people's sex? Just, hey, how you gonna follow her ex? Fuck. Like I said, nothing but weird stuff has happened to me tonight. It's been completely jarring. Because a lot of people are celebrating Halloween tonight, which in New York is a horrible idea. This city is not made for Halloween because it is too difficult to distinguish. celebrating. And the real crackheads. Like, that's... You know what I mean? Like, I be letting people get close. I mean, people asking questions. It's devastating. I saw a dude with, I don't know what's outfits and what's not. Like, I saw a dude with pants, but just one leg. Like, he had a pant. Like an actual, you see what I mean, right? Like one leg naked and the other leg business casual, right? Like one side I'm going somewhere, one side booty shorts. It's insane. Half of it is dressed for the apocalypse, and the rest is like present day. And he was just acting like it was nothing. I was like, maybe it's a choice. I have no idea. I saw one dude who was just in pajamas, but he didn't have any socks or shoes on. And he was by himself sucking his thumb. I was like, I think that this was crazy. I think, like, am I crazy? That one feels different. He's not hanging out with anybody. You know what I mean? If him and his boys were all sucking thumbs together, I'd be like, all right, they a group of oddballs. But my man just by himself when the train come, no. There was a guy that sat next to me when I was on the train. So he has like this like blood thing, you know, across the forehead and just trickling down and stuff. And he starts the conversation just normal, and he was asking me to make sure he was on the way to 34th Street, right? And it's like it's Halloween, so it's supposed to be okay for someone who's covered in blood to just ask you for directions. It's like I would be weird, so I was like, oh, because then that's me not understanding it's a holiday, right? And then yeah, we're on the way to the city, so you're going to get 34th Street. You just stay on a few more stops.
This
and
is
by the
my
way, this is so cool. Like I
mixy thing.
Like getting that detail, and he was like, oh no, I'm going to Jim Halper. This is I got in a fight with a nigga on the way to the tryout.
It's good, but it's hot.
Alright.
So,
You say so.
gotta let it sit.
That's my thing. I think my
Check the
only
thing
way
out.
of telling is really fair. But my only way of telling who's crazy and who's in costume is by the number of costumes. So if somebody in one costume, that's a regular person. You know what I mean? If somebody's in two costumes at the same time, that's a kid. That's a kid who could make his mind like, I want to be Batman and Elsa. It's like, all right, cool, yeah. That's okay. All right, get you half Batman, like Batman up top, Elsa at the bottom, I guess. I don't know. But if they're wearing 7, that is mental illness. That's happening the rest of the year too. You know what I mean? They look like Spider-Man. They just got fairy wings on the back of their head, and they got Thanos wrists. It's like, all right, you're doing a lot. Just watch them. Oh, this is also the worst night in New York to get robbed. Because it's the one night where you could give the most accurate description that make you sound crazy. You know what I mean? You know, if I got robbed tonight, I was like, okay, so Minnie Mouse and Captain America went that way, all right? If you turn the corner, you can still catch them. I had a conversation with my uncle. My uncle got in an argument with his girlfriend. My uncle still has girlfriends because he didn't have his life together. So I'm just saying, my man needs to settle down or settle up, you know? Like, it's odd. But they got an argument because they were watching a movie. And in the movie, the couple that the movie is about, towards the end of the movie, they've been married for 60 years, and then she dies. And then within a week, he dies. But he didn't have any pre-existing conditions, so he just died of old age and clearly of grief, right? Right? And then she did the same thing. She turns to my uncle, and she's like, oh, that's so sweet. Do you think that'll happen with us? And then my uncle was like, hell no. Which I'm like, first know, just say yes, bro. Like, just, mom will be picking the weirdest times, to be honest. Like, that's so odd. Just say yes. That's what people are looking for, reassurance. Say yes. It's a clear answer. It's also, you know, just say yes, you know. But then they got in a fight, because then she was like, why don't you think you would die if I died? And then he was like, look, if you died, I'd be sad. But if we passed, I'm not gonna kill myself just to like stay in the timeline. And then she's like, well, why don't you love me enough to just die after I die? Like, she turned into like a real fight. And he was like, look, first of all, this conversation doesn't make any sense because I'm clearly gonna die before you, okay? I'm overweight, I got high blood pressure. So let me ask you this, are you willing to kill yourself in 8 years? Oh, that's a real thing that I've noticed in my friends' relationships. I've even had it a couple times where there's a hypothetical at play that's never gonna happen, but it'll usually, I think in almost every case that I can think of, is like usually the girlfriend, where they're like, would you still love me if I was like a spy? If I was like a spy and I was on the run, you can only see me twice a year, would you still like love me or would you like move on? And you're supposed to be like, yeah, I'd still love you and we would make it work logistically or, you know, whatever. And it's like, I get, you know, there's scenarios that pop in your head and you want reassurance from the person. Hey, would you still love me if this thing happened? But some of them are too crazy. Like, would you love me if I was like a ladybug? How is it gonna make me, you know what I mean? Like, think about that. It makes me look bad if I say no. But then if I say yes, I look like I fucked ladybugs. Which is worse? Which one do you want to be in a relationship with less? Dudes do plenty of like dumb stuff. I'm not many dudes doing that hypothetical thing, you know? Like, I just don't.
As a tech reviewer, everybody expects me to give the best gifts, and now with Google's Holiday 100, you can make sure that's true. Shop the top trending products for this year with Google's Holiday 100. I am definitely going to be the best gift giver this year.
Did y'all see the first dates list that's been going viral? It's like a list of first dates that people need to stop taking women on. Some of you see it. Okay, in case you haven't seen it, basically there was this whole thing that I'm pretty sure was fake, that of this woman going to the Cheesecake Factory and then she won't get out the car because it's a Cheesecake Factory. And so, which this one, I'm not gonna lie, whether the video is fake or real, the video did make me laugh in the beginning because the guy is driving her to the date. The date turns out to be Cheesecake Factory. Then he gets out to open the door for her, which I think went out in the 1890s, right? So then, clearly a better man than most, right? Gets out of the car, walks around, and then she locked the door. It's his car, locked the door, and then rolled down the window. Was like, I'm not going to Cheesecake Factory. And then he gets back in the car. And anyway, they decide, you know, not to go on the date, whatever, right? But it sparked this whole thing. It sparked this whole debate on like if Cheesecake Factory was nice or whatever. So then the list came out of like places to stop, places women are done going on first dates at. And the list has 28 different things on it, and it is most places. So like, ladies, just admit you don't like us. Like that's, because half the list is very reasonable. Half the list, I was like, who is doing this, right? There are things on the list that are crazy. Because remember, the whole list, first date, right? So there's things on the list that should just never. Church was one. You just springing church on people? You not even letting them get right before you pull up? Imagine you go on first date, they want to surprise you, you get out and it's church. It's a surprise. Just sprung church on someone. And you gotta be careful about people who spring church on you, because usually it's a cult. Like, if y'all going to church on like a Thursday at 6, that's not regular church hours. That's not what we're doing in established churches. You know? Some of the list was, I'm not gonna lie, I thought a lot of the list was very reasonable, you know? Like church was one. Another one that blew my mind, the gym. You only do that if you try to make her your enemy. Like you just, you know, let's go to a place that we could both use. It's insane. Towards the top of the list is Chili's and Chipotle, right? And I will say this, just from my experience, if you're taking a woman on first date to Chili's or Chipotle, ladies, and he's taking you on first date, Chili's or Chipotle, he is trying to give you the D, okay? And by D, I do mean diarrhea. Like that is absolutely chaotic. Chipotle, first date, you just want her with full of burrito. That's insane. Who raised you? Like that's. No. Buffet was one, and buffet is super reasonable. That is reasonable. Taking a first date on a buffet, what are you trying to test her for? What's the plan here? It's like, you can't be with me unless you clear 3 plates, okay? This is an audition, all right? We eat in this family. This is crazy. And to be fair, a lot of the stuff, whether it's reasonable or not, that was on the first date list, I have friends who were taken on all of those first dates. You know what I mean? So they are happening. You know, I had a friend, dude took her on first date to a buffet, and then they get there and she's like, oh, okay, didn't know, but let's make the most of it. Brings the plate up, starts, you know, making her plate very responsible portions. She gets back. He comes back 3 minutes later. He got a whole pyramid of food. It is crazy as he sits down and then he just starts pounding egg rolls. Like this man, like it's a contest, just nonstop. Egg roll, egg roll. Where you from? Egg roll, egg roll, egg roll, egg roll. What are your ambitions? Egg roll, egg roll, egg roll, egg roll. And then finally he choked, right? And this is a thing that I'm being serious for a second outside of the dating stuff, just as us, fellas, as men. We have got to start chewing, all right? Most of the choking in this country is us. Almost all of it is us. It's just men being happy and being like, oh, it's real good. Like that every day that's happening to us. That's nobody's fault but us. It's our mouth, all right? So just please, bro, chew. Please chew. I'm begging you. Too many men are dying unnecessarily of delicious food and not paying attention. And so then he starts choking. She get up from the table, go around to his side, gives him the Heimlich. He spits the food out, sits down, and it's like, I can't believe that happened. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. You saved my life. I want to hear more about your job. I'm gonna get another plate. I'll be right back. Did you learn nothing? One of my favorites, though. One of my favorites that I do agree with, that's on the list. And I know some people are gonna come for me, but number 10 on the list is Wingstop. Now, if you're not from this country or you don't know what a Wingstop is, just know they don't have seating, all right? Like, almost none of it. If you're taking a woman to Wingstop, it's because she's a fugitive. It's like, baby, we got to get in and get out. I don't want you seen, you know what I mean? We on the run together. This was your scenario that you asked me if I would still love you, so. That's crazy. Because Buffalo Wild Wings is also on the list. But at least at Buffalo Wild Wings, the one caveat I have for it is if y'all are both into sports, you can watch the game and eat something in a booth. You can have a good time together. Wingstop just got 2 trash cans and some high top tables. Because Wingstop don't want you to eat at Wingstop. Wingstop is like, you order it, you get the fuck out. I don't even want to look at you right now. Also, wings on a first date is chaos. That's a setup right there. That's you just want to make sure she's a hunter. What are you doing? No. I've had to delete some apps from my phone. My phone finally filled up. That's when you start making decisions. When you see that thing cannot be backed up on the cloud, you start being like, oof, do I need to know the weather? Like, and I had to delete the Citizen app. Yeah, no. If y'all don't have the Citizen app, I'm begging you, don't download it. All right. The Citizen app is insane. If you don't know what it is, it's an app that tells you what crimes are happening around you and in the city at large, which nobody needs to know. All right. The crime in New York is either happening to you or none of your business. Why would I get that app? Just to be the worst Batman ever? To try to stop crime on foot? Is that my plan? There's a robbery happening 6 blocks away. I get there out of breath. Don't do it. Oh. No. The only reason I even had the Citizen app is because I loved the headlines. Because people can self-report, you know, they can tell you what's happening near you. And sometimes the police are not even aware yet. Sometimes it really is people seeing it all gets official and stuff. My favorite one that I've ever seen, and I have lots. Like, honestly, if you come to see me, I will be talking about this every set. I have endless. But one of my favorites was man exposing himself at Popeyes. And I loved it because they said exposing. They use the present tense, which means the dick is still out. Like, the dick is currently enlarged. I mean, they're like, he's doing it right now. Please hurry. He's swinging everywhere. He getting all the chicken sandwiches. Please send somebody. You know? Oh. Did I follow that okay? Did I do a good job? Y'all been great. I'm Josh Johnson. Have a good one.
Someone express delivery for Chad Hoobucks. What kind of thing is that?
Who knew Walmart delivers that fast?
That's a lot. That shit was good though. Mm-hmm.
Popeyes with garlic palm tenders, cheesy bites, and marinara sauce has still been pretty fresh in the box.
They were very clearly trying to scare me and then play. We're just kidding. Everything was like, and it sounds insane that people could live for 30,000 years, but it doesn't. Here's why it doesn't. There's real evidence that there's structures under the pyramids that might go as deep as 2 kilometers.
That looked like an energy grid.
With columns and coils around the columns and like, what?
Everybody who studies this says the cherry on top are the pyramids. but it's really this underground city that they're studying.
There's a 40-meter object that's in that labyrinth. That's in some vast corridor. That's metallic. It's a fucking UFO.
And now we have 3-fingered mummies, and for
we might have actual evidence that there's another species that shares this planet with us. The same problem that we have with UAP disclosure is the same problem you have with the Epstein files.
Who do you think runs our government?
Nixon apparently had been saying, I know who killed JFK and I know why they did it.
And then you have people like Elon Musk on they run SpaceX. You would think he would be completely privy to all of our UFO secrets.
He's a sly dog. He's my homie, but he's a sly dog.
If he was debating like in a room with David Grush on your show, the CIA guy was like, look at the Grush stuff, quantum and AI. Do you think there's something happening where all these trends are converging now simultaneously and it's not a coincidence?
When we achieve sentience with artificial general superintelligence, that is the legitimate gateway to the cosmos. And if you really want to get weird, that might be how God gets formed. Like, God might be a real thing. That might be how God gets formed. And that might be the whole reason why human beings have curiosity and this insatiable desire for technological innovation. Jesus was born out of a virgin mother. What's more virgin than a computer?
This is beyond surreal. I've had some surreal moments on this show, but I think this tops them all. Joe, I really appreciate you being here, man. I don't think I would have a show if it weren't for the thousands of hours of insights I've gleaned from your show. And you don't have to do this, and you do stuff like this all the time, and it just means so much to me that you're here. So I really, really appreciate you.
Well, it's my pleasure. I really love your show, so it's exciting for me to be here.
It means a lot, man. Well, I want to actually start with, you had a dream. And this was a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
You had Brett Weinstein on, great evolutionary biologist, and you started off the episode with this trippy dream you had. You want to describe it?
It was the weirdest dream I've ever had in my life because it was the most realistic dream and is the only dream that I can ever remember. I sleep really well. Like, I'm one of those guys, I can go to sleep on a pile of rocks. I can always sleep. It drives my wife crazy because she has a hard time sleeping and I can just conk out. I could not go back to sleep. It's the only dream I can remember that I couldn't go back to sleep. I don't think I've ever had that happen to me before. Where I woke up at like 3 a.m. or whatever it was, and I was like, I'm up now. Like, there's no way. I laid in bed, I think, for like an hour, and then I just went to the gym. I was like, there's no way I'm going back to sleep. It was very strange. It was very strange because it was like, what is this? It wasn't like a regular dream, like, oh, you're dreaming. It seems like vague and weird and kind of, opaque. It was vivid. It was very strange. And there was these very slender, tall, human-like things that were talking to me. They weren't gray. They were kind of like pinkish, like us. They were, like Caucasian-looking creatures. But they were messing with me. Like, they scared me. They're like, we're just playing around. And so they were doing there was some weird kind of communication telling me to relax. And the environment was very different too. It was very vivid. It was like some sort of a corridor, but it didn't seem normal. It seemed very strange. Like, I remember the walls were lit very weird. And I also remember that there was some sort of water and reptilian element to this. Like, they were letting me know, like, almost like they had barriers that were very sloppy that were keeping these things out, but they were doing their best. They had people who were beings, like, monitoring the bed, feeding these things and keeping them out. And I was like, what is going on here? And it's like, is this telling me that they're doing their best to keep something from getting to us, but that it's not that secure, that it's kind of precarious? and a lot more unstable than we would like to think it is.
Mm.
I don't know what that was all about. That part of it was really weird. That part of it was more dream-like, but the communication with them and the interaction with them was very, very vivid. It was really strange. They had larger eyes than a normal human and a larger head, but not crazy. Like, not like a Gray from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Kind of a little bit like that guy up there.
Oh, interesting.
Not quite so big, but like a large head with a very small jaw and larger eyes than normal. But they were smiling. God, I can't remember if they had teeth. I think they had teeth. I can't remember.
Does any part of you think this actually happened, or do you think it was just a dream? Wow.
You know, I don't want to be that guy that like, oh, I know it was real, because I don't.
Yeah.
I was dreaming. I was sleeping.
Yeah.
But it was the most vivid dream I've ever had in my life.
I was telling you outside, you're wearing this epic Betty and Barney Hill.
Oh, geez.
Oh, geez. First abductees, 1961.
No, I know his granddaughter.
Yeah, she Angela Hill, right?
Yeah.
She's a UFC fighter?
Yeah.
So cool.
Crazy.
What did she say?
She did my podcast and didn't tell me until after the podcast was over.
You don't tell Joe Rogan?
Her grandfather was Barney Hill. I was like, no, that's mad. That's so crazy.
Did you not say, let's go back in and record?
No, it was already too late. We already wrapped it up and everything. I should have done.
You gotta have her back.
Yeah, I should have done it then.
That is wild.
Looking back, that was a mistake.
Well, I thought, because you wore this, I think, on the Gavin DeBecker episode, which was a crazy episode. Everybody should go watch this episode. This guy protects like the most important people in the world.
Yeah.
And he's going through all these crazy CIA conspiracies. Basically talks about Fauci's role in the AIDS epidemic as kind of analogous to what he did around COVID. A lot of the you know, it's being kind of the same.
Very similar. Very similar.
And you're hearing it from this guy who like protects incredibly important people, does risk assessments for these, you know, massive events.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, very wild. Yeah. But yeah, he didn't know what this was.
I thought you were maybe signaling to the audience like, maybe I got abducted or something.
No, I don't think I got abducted. I don't even know if I got contacted. It just might have been the craziest dream. And to me, because I'm so into the whole UAP, UFO, alien phenomenon, maybe, you know, maybe it was just very vivid because of that. It's just very odd for me to not be able to go back to sleep. That never happens. I can sleep no matter what. It's weird.
Well, so whatever it was, it had kind of a disproportionate impact on your psyche. Like
Yes.
it was a big part of your subconscious.
It was tangible. It was like when I woke up, I was like, what was that? It wasn't like, whoa, that dream is fucked. Oh, which I've had before. I had last night. I had a crazy dream last night, but it was a normal dream. It was just like got up to pee, and I was like, what the hell was that? And I went right back to bed. This, I was not going to sleep, man. I laid in bed for a full hour, just trying to go to sleep. And then I said, all right, I'm up. Let's just go to the gym. And I'm in the gym, and I'm trying to decide, because I knew I had Brett Weinstein on the podcast, and I was like, I have to just say this immediately, like, because we're going to get into so many different subjects. There's no way I'm going to work this in. Like, I just have to get to this right away, because I just had to sort of document it while it was only a few hours old, while it was fresh.
And some dreams are like you wake up from them and you're like still in the dream a little bit. You have to like kind of get it. There's something cathartic about retelling it or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird, man. I don't know what it was.
You said you thought they were beings from the future, maybe?
That's what, if I had to guess.
The changing world order.
He taking too long. And he got a guest too.
The times ahead will be rapid.
I'm hungry. I'm about to get my food out the refrigerator.
Front and center this hour, a FOMO rally. One Wall Street firm says it is upon us. We'll discuss and debate that with the investment committee. Joining me for the hour today, Jenny Harrington, Jim Leventhal, Kevin Simpson, Josh Brown. Let's check the markets here. On this Friday, we have a mixed picture. At least the Russell's red. Everything else is green. But as I said, Barclays today, Farmer Jim, Seasonality, the last 2 weeks of the year, usually the best for equities. Hence, FOMO is in full swing again. Michael Hartnett, Bank of America, today says investors are bullish, risk on Trump, Fed, Gen Z puts, tax, tariff rate cuts. The only thing that can stop Santa Claus rally is a dovish Fed cut, causing a sell-off in the long end. Citi today says no pain, no gain. They use the AI in both pain and gain in all caps, talking about AI. While we think we are in a bubble for equities, bubbles are initially quite profitable. We stay long equities. So there you go. There you have it.
So in the short term to the end of the year, I totally agree, Scott. I do think you'll have a Santa Claus rally. I also think that the last week or two that we've been kind of nudging up towards that record, but haven't gotten to there yet. I think that actually makes more of a coiled spring that when we do get past that, it will leapfrog past the record.
You're only 50 points away, right? Like,
yeah, I know we're not far away, but just feels like every day it feels like, hey, we're almost ready to go for it, and it doesn't quite get there. I think that's a positive. I think that's a little mini consolidation that sets us up for the springboard higher. There's also one thing on that long list of positives that I don't think I heard you say, which is the budget bill becomes very stimulative in 2026, both on the consumer side in terms of refunds coming in, no tax on tips, those things, but even more importantly on the corporate side with R&D expensing and CapEx expensing. I think that's very positive for the economy, for profits, and thus for the stock market overall. So I am positive. I'll say one last thing on the bubble question, because that word was used in there. Totally agree. I mean, bubbles, you have to inflate them before they pop. And
right, we have to inflate them to pop them.
Yep. And guess what? We're pretty early in the inflation phase, so I'm not worried about it popping.
All right, Jenny, how about you? I mean, pretty positive notes as we head into the final stretch here.
Yeah. So the questions I'm asking is, do you want, let's say you have a portfolio and it's 80% stocks and 20% bonds, and you're going into 26 and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to leave that balance the same. My question becomes for 26, do you want that equity component to be the same as it was for 26 that it was in 25? If you were all large cap US growth, or let's say you even had a lot of international, and international stocks are 27% or so this year, do you want to rebalance? And do you want those to be the majority of your 80% equities or 70%, whatever you have, going into next year? I think maybe you change your playbook within your equity allocation. So I'm not saying get out of the markets, get out of equities. I'm just saying maybe change what you've got. And the reason for that is because I look at this market, this economy, this consumer as fantastic in aggregate. Right? In aggregate, the market's up 17%. In aggregate, GDP showed nice growth. In aggregate, the consumer just spent 4.1% more on Black Friday than they did last year. But as soon as you disaggregate, it's a very different picture underneath. And so I think that different picture, it could change the dynamics in 26. I think if there is significant weakness in the consumer, it may start to bleed up. If it bleeds up, how does that change? If you look at GDP and you disaggregate it and take out that AI play, the rest of the economy is not in fantastic shape. How does that impact next year? So I think going into 26, there's a very different set of underlying circumstances than there were going into 25.
Well, so Josh, I feel like what you talked about the other day plays right into what Jenny's perspective right here today was. This notion, as she says, her words, change what you've got. You made the argument yesterday, as much as people want to say that or believe that, don't do that.
Yeah. So I think the mega caps, not just the Mag 7, but generally speaking, I think that's going to be the way that active managers who this year, like most years, in large number are trailing the benchmarks. I think that's the move that they're going to make. Doesn't mean that everyone watching the show needs to do the same thing, but I think they're going to look at some of the stocks that are mega cap and far off their highs and say, all right, maybe I didn't own enough Apple, made a new record high. Maybe I missed the rebound in Tesla from the summer. Maybe here's my opportunity. I got Microsoft in a drawdown. I got NVIDIA off its highs, Broadcom off its highs. I got maybe an opportunity in AMD. Look at Meta, blah, blah, blah. This is the trade. Amazon off its highs. This is what they'll do. But look, if it's not your strategy, I don't recommend going and running out and trying to do that. Jenny's got her own strategy, so I don't think she and I disagree. All we're talking about, Judge, is how they're going to behave into year end. Every year we want for there to be a new story, and every year it's the same old story.
I just don't know what dislodges it this year.
Kev, I don't know. We would be sitting here yet again in the early part of the new year saying, hey, should we, start diversifying away from the mega caps? We believe in this broadening story. Hey, look at healthcare, look at financials, look at all these other areas that are expressing this broadening view of the market. And then lo and behold, the earnings continue to hold up for the hyperscalers. They actually are being able to prove their return on investment. And then the money just starts to flood into that area yet again.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot of that as window dressing into the end of the year, but we still have to get through the end of the year. And it seems like we're wondering, with respect to that, will there be a Santa Claus rally? Will there be a year-end rally?
Do you think there will be? I mean, the notes that I read you off the very top of the program suggest, for a variety of reasons, seasonality and otherwise, that there will be.
I do agree with that. The three catalysts that I'm looking at between now and the end of the year, Scott, two of them are next week. The first is the Fed. Can they give us the 25 basis point rate cut that we're factoring in? Yeah, probably. What's the tone of the meeting afterwards and the press conference and the setup for next year? You kind of expect rate cuts next year, but it'll be a catalyst for the short term. The other is Oracle's earnings, and we'll talk about that later in the show, and we'll save that. Yeah. And the final thing would be the jobs report, which comes the following week. We would have gotten it today, but it's a data point that I think will set up the end of the year. So if we're looking between now and the end of the year for a Santa Claus rally, I agree with the notes, and I think we'll get it.
I thought that the Bank of America note today, HeartNet, idea of a dovish cut could be negative for stocks. That's a little counterintuitive, because if you came in and you said, well, they could give you a hawkish cut, and that would maybe cause the long end of the curve rates to go up. He's implying that if it's a dovish cut, that the market's going to get a little bit skittish on the long end about inflation, and the long end could go up anyway, and that could stop the rally. I haven't heard that perspective from people.
I think you're going to get that either way. I just think the bond market's already flashing that. When you look at the
Let me
bond
go
market,
cut the heat
say,
down real quick. I'll be
rates
right
went up
back.
a little bit, just on the idea that we've come up with a new chairman for the Federal Reserve, and that if things are too dovish, if there's not a complete data dependency, that you may be too dovish in an environment where inflation is returning into the marketplace. So I agree with that note.
Because there's a look at the 10-year yield, which has been going in really one direction. It's been backing up. The idea was, okay, Fed's going to cut next week, most likely. If they're hawkish, well, okay, maybe rates back up more. But now, if they're dovish, the bond market's going to have something to say about that.
And that's what I've been thinking for a while now, which is that we all know cuts coming, right? We expect that. It's not so much about the cut that matters to the markets. Why? Why are they cutting? Are they cutting into strength, or are they cutting into weakness? And that's where I get back to my comment earlier about where I'm starting to worry about the consumer. I just saw something yesterday saying there were 1.1 million layoffs year to date. That's more than there have been since 2020. If they're cutting because they're really worrying about the labor market, that's a bad sign.
I know, but people have been, maybe you and others talking about, oh, I'm worried about the consumer and this, that, and the other, and then they go to Black Friday and they spend hand over fist.
But that's the thing.
They spend hand over. Well, somebody's spending, and it's not just the top end either, by the way. It's just not.
It's a lot, though. And you go back to that McDonald's CEO comment from 3 weeks ago or something, where the McDonald's CEO said something like, and this is McDonald's, our high-end customer is fine. Our low-end customer is something like 15 or 20% lower than it was last year. McDonald's is seeing weakness in the
Wasn't consumer sentiment a move higher today?
This is where I get really, really flummoxed in trying to think about the market. Which is in aggregate, things are great. But when you disaggregate, it gets a lot trickier, and it's a lot harder to figure out, what stocks to buy. So everything I'm looking at,
you're making, if it's that hard to figure out what stocks to buy, you're making the case for why people are going to go buy the mega caps. That's exactly the point.
Let me just give you one really interesting example from yesterday. Yesterday, what shows up on my screen?
I had to throw that word around a little bit.
Show me what has above a 3.5% yield. I've got Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm sorry, not Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yeah, I'm definitely throwing that word around.
And Best Buy. Right? These are two totally different consumer bases.
What's got me
flummoxed? And to me, the trouble with Bath & Body Works is that it's purely discretionary. So if you're feeling it all pinched, you're likely to cut that. you're less likely to cut, geez, my laptop just broke, I need a new laptop. So this is where it gets complicated. There's still opportunity. So you could say I'm making an argument for the mega cap, or you could say I'm making an argument for active stock picking and saying I'm not just going to buy consumer discretionary, but I'm gonna suss out which of those.
All I'm saying is you could sit there and have a debate with yourself for 3 hours over Bath and Body Works versus Best Buy and try and determine whether you're going to buy that stock when the other person would say, you know what? I know where the pudding is being made in AI and the hyperscalers, and I'm going to buy, to Josh's point, the sell-off in X or the sell-off in Y or the sell-off in Z.
Or you could say Apple's trading at 30 times with like low double digit, 9 to 11% growth ahead. Or maybe I could look at a Bed Bath I keep saying the wrong things, don't I? Best Buy, which has been totally thrown out, has a cheap yield, has a cheap valuation, a high yield, has a bigger upside ahead because the stock is so crushed. So maybe next year I get a 15% return in Best Buy and a 7% return in Apple. So you can start doing that kind of calculation.
I think the internals of the market show that both aspects are right, that the mega cap is obviously working, but so are a lot of other non-mega cap tech stocks.
I know. No, you said this the other day.
No.
You said the same thing the other day. And you named Delta Airlines and you named Wind Resorts.
I'm going to throw a cat pick to you. You ready? I'm going to make you happy. I'm going to give you something you can really beat me up on. You know what's done fabulously this year? No, hang on, Jenny. It's GM, just as an example. It has nothing to do with AI.
I know, but you sold it like a long time ago and you were worried about the tariffs.
Okay. As I said, I'm falling on my sword here. I didn't want to just.
Can I ask Jenny a question?
But hang on, let me just make the point, and then you can do this. Look at healthcare. Look at financials. There are a lot of things. So both aspects of this can be right. It can be the AI stocks, and it can be the RSP equal weight S&P 500.
Josh.
Hey, how's your price?
Commercials.
Atlanta kicker's hot. Someone looking pretty smart right now. You're wearing a flip.
Uranium. Building houses underground. Stock market taxes.
So I think I found Wall Street
secrets.
Madagascar, an island off the coast of Africa. It's one of the most biologically diverse places in the world. Almost all of its plants and animals aren't found anywhere else on Earth. And when we looked at it from space, we saw a spot, a massive dark circle, almost perfectly round, over 13 kilometers in diameter, and big enough that roads are diverted on either side of it. Looking at it from the side, we could see it was a mountain. And if you zoomed all the way in, you could see a village.
I'll bite.
Don't kill your dog.
Oh, hey.
Bye, commercial.
Madagascar, an island off the coast of Africa. It's one of the most biologically diverse places in the world. Almost all of its plants and animals aren't found anywhere else on Earth. And when we looked at it from space, we saw a spot, a massive dark circle, almost perfectly round, over 13 kilometers in diameter, and big enough that roads are diverted on either side of it. Looking at it from the side, we could see it was a mountain. And if you zoomed all the way in, you could see a village. Nestled in the crater at its center, 8 kilometers from the closest labeled town on Google Maps, isolated in a remote part of a remote region of a geographically isolated country. It looked like it could have been there for generations, but if you looked backward through time, each year it gets smaller and smaller. And before 2008, there was no one there at all. I wanted to try to answer one question. Why did these people move to such an incredibly isolated place? I was really starting from zero here. I didn't know anyone in Madagascar. I didn't know that much about Madagascar. But the question was, could we get in touch with the people living here just by using the internet? The closest location tags were on the edges of the mountain,
a butcher shop, a playground, and a historical landmark, but none of them were real. They all seemed to be random references to the popular Japanese manga and anime series Attack on Titan, written in Russian. The ones that did look real, churches, hospitals, and schools, didn't have much of a presence on the internet. So we looked at content that had been geotagged nearby, first on Twitter, using the coordinates of the village and a search radius. Until finally, at 12 kilometers away, we found someone, a nonprofit worker who had posted from a nearby village in 2014. We asked if he knew anything about the village on the mountain, but he never got back to us. On Instagram, we looked for pictures tagged in the nearest town, Antanaditra, and found an aid organization that had posted pictures taken there. We asked, but they didn't know. They'd never actually been on the mountain at all. And finally, we looked at geotags on YouTube, and there was a video, geotagged right next to the village on the top of the mountain. But then it was just more Attack on Titan stuff, also written in Russian. After a while, it felt like the internet alone was not going to tell us very much. So we started reaching out to experts who had worked in Madagascar, experts in agriculture.
Vous voulez parler du cercle là? Je suis jamais allée dans la zone que vous pointez là, je ne saurais expliquer trop.
And experts in biogeography.
I don't know people working on that region, frankly. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Madagascar is a country of almost 29 million people, slightly more than Australia, slightly fewer than Texas. And the majority of the country's population, over 60%, lives in rural settings a lot like this one. But this village was particularly remote. If you zoom out, the closest major city is a place called Siroanamandid, 18 kilometers away, with a population of over 44,000. At this point in the process, it felt like we might need to take a more drastic approach. Maybe we could hire someone to make the journey up the mountain to the village itself. Someone in Madagascar. That's how we met Lolly.
Hi, Christopher.
Lolly runs a production company in Madagascar, in the capital city of Antananarivo. She was down to make the trip. She started to gather a crew, make local contacts, and figure out how to get from Antananarivo all the way here. They weren't exactly sure yet how they would get up to the village, or how they'd establish contact once they got there.
Need an introduction to them from someone who's from the area.
Yeah. But they knew they were going to have to do it in just a few days in the middle of Madagascar's hot, rainy season. And early one morning in January, they went.
This is Sinas, this is your guy. This is Yaz, he's a historian. This is Bull, our fixer. This is Jose.
Our driver? This is the driver. Try the car then.
As they approached the mountain, Lolly sent us messages every step of the way.
Really good at what you do.
So we finally found the crater. It's just down there, and we are going to follow it.
Until finally, after traveling 10 kilometers by motorcycle and on foot, they made it to the top of the mountain. But when they got there and were about to descend to the village in the crater, a massive storm appeared on the horizon, and they had to turn back. They got extremely close, but making contact with the village would have to wait until the end of the rainy season, which was in May, 4 months away. Still, all the research we'd done so far gave us a detailed idea of what this place looked like. What Lolly's team did see looked green, lush, and clearly extremely difficult to access. But there was still so much we didn't know. Before Lolly went in January, she wasn't convinced that anybody lived there at all. There's the small group of houses at the very top and the very middle that we've kind of been interested in.
It's not possible to live there, and especially because there are earthquakes.
So I turned to some very basic Googling, and I found an article about earthquakes in Madagascar. The article described how a team of researchers mapped Madagascar via seismic tomography. That's tomography, not topography, because it's mapping the Earth's interior, not exterior, like a CT scan for the planet. All of these measurements produced this final map of the entire island. with colors labeling the different ages and kinds of rock. And here, in the center of the map, I could see one perfectly circular dot. I pulled it into Photoshop, overlaid it with the map, and it lined up with the mountain exactly. According to the key, that meant that the mountain dated back to the Cretaceous period, sometime between 66 and 145 million years ago. And it was volcanic. This looked like a very, very extinct volcano, but we wanted to know for sure. So I started looking for a volcano expert from Madagascar who could explain it to me. And that led me to Salavra Harabiyev. He showed me a map.
Can you see it?
From a detailed geological survey of the area.
That circular structure is actually made of rocks that form deep within the Earth's surface. It has been dated using uranium-lead geochronology dating techniques and is actually 90 million years old.
90 million years old. Older than Mount Everest, the Grand Canyon, Vesuvius. This thing was ancient. 90 million years meant that this thing had been extinct for a very, very long time. But that number was significant for another reason.
That is actually overlapping on the India and Madagascar separation.
Okay, Slava was talking about this moment, right here, when India broke apart from Madagascar. Because these rocks are 90 million years old, it makes sense that the volcano might have something to do with this massive separation of continents. So we went looking for experts who knew more about the breakup of Madagascar and India. And we found Joe Meert, a geology professor who's written a bunch about the movement and formation of continents. This was a real crash course on volcanic geology, so I asked our motion designer Matt to help me make this a little bit easier to follow.
Madagascar and India happen to be located beneath this really deep-seated mantle source. They're called plumes.
When that plume reaches the planet's crust, it forms a hotspot.
As Madagascar moved over the hotspot, it burned a hole through Madagascar and produced all the volcanics all over the island.
As Madagascar's continental plate continued to move, those volcanoes were eventually cut off from the hotspot. And without a heat source, they cooled and collapsed.
And then you're left with the plumbing system that was underneath that volcano.
So that's what we were looking at, the collapsed remnants of a volcano formed by a hotspot that had broken up Madagascar and India. At this point, I had no idea what any of this might have to do with the village that we could see on Google Earth. So right about then, we heard back from another Malagasy expert we'd emailed. He sent us a link to mindat.org. This is like the Wikipedia of minerals and mines. And it had a page about the mountain, including its name, the Ambohibi Massif. Finally, we knew the name of this mountain that had been unlabeled on every other map we'd seen so far, and we can search for it. We found maps from 1899, 1903, and 1916, where the Ambohibi was always labeled as a lush forest, the only one for almost 100 kilometers. That definitely didn't seem to be the case anymore, but maybe these old trees were a clue. We kept looking, and we found old reports. One from 1933 said that at the highest part of the massif, there is a very open valley called by the indigenous Andronomangatsiaka, or where we find fresh water. Water. Maybe that's why the villagers chose to move there. The mountain's higher elevation meant that it got more moisture, feeding these streams that flowed down the mountain in every direction, and making the center a perfect place for a village to thrive.
Ever changed a tire before? Don't bet. I just wanted to help people by sharing dad advice on TikTok. Throw the big fish over. I'm not a dad to just my own kids, but to the millions of people that just need to hear, you've got this. Ever changed a tire before? Don't bet. I just wanted to help people by sharing dad advice on TikTok. Throw the big fish over. I'm not a dad to just my own kids, but to the millions of people that just need to hear, you've got this.
Then we tried to find reports that were a little bit more recent. And on Google Scholar, we found a 2012 paper about the origins of the Ambohibi. It covered everything from the geochemistry to plate tectonics to microscopic images of these rocks, and it included rock samples taken right next to the crater village. The paper was written by a South African geoscientist named Ndivuo Cecilia Mukosi. And if she took rock samples from right here, when the village already looked like this, she had to have been in contact with the people living there. Mukosi was busy doing field research for the next few days, so in the meantime, we dug deeper into a paper, and it told us what the formation actually was: an alkaline ring complex. Alkaline refers to the chemistry of the magma. It's the kind of molten rock that appears when continents break apart, like Madagascar and India did 90 million years ago. I took this new term and looked at dozens more across the world. In Sudan, Egypt, Niger, Russia, Namibia, Zimbabwe, the United States, they were everywhere. A whole planet covered in circles, the remnants of long extinct volcanoes. I wanted to talk to someone who could tell me why a community of people would want to live on top of an alkaline ring complex. So I went looking for the most famous researcher of the most famous alkaline ring complex out there. That's when this caught my eye. The Richat structure, also called the Eye of the Sahara. It's an alkaline ring complex in Mauritania surrounded by conspiracy theories, even on Google Maps, where it's littered with comments saying that it's the site of Atlantis and that nobody knows what it is. But geologist Michel Jabrac does know what it is. He's done tons of research there and even helped get an illustration of it onto Mauritania's currency.
Alcalin, les alcalins en géologie, c'est le potassium, le sodium et le calcium. Pour l'agriculture, le calcium, c'est excellent. Ce qui veut dire que je ne serais pas surpris que la ferme elle se place au milieu parce que les roches sont plus calcaires dans ces endroits-là. Ça, c'est un bonheur pour l'agriculture africaine. Parce qu'on a de l'engrais sur place, tout simplement.
Soil. Maybe that was why they moved here. This alkaline ring complex formed when continents broke apart, left behind a valley with remarkably fertile soil. There was one last person who might know something about the community living on top of the Yambo-Hebi complex, Ndivuo Cecilia Mukosi, the geoscientist who had studied it. When she was back from doing field research, we spoke.
I was first or second person to map the Yambo-Hebi complex and try to understand how it was formed. It's quite fertile, and so the area is good for agriculture.
One of the things that really caught us in the first place about this location was the fact that at the crater of the ring complex there is what looks like a farm right in the very middle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, you sent me that there wasn't people living on the center of the complex. I think this is quite recent, and I was there 15 years ago. Things change after a while.
I missed this the whole time. Mukosi's research was published in 2012, but she had actually visited the Yambo-Hebi 5 years earlier, in 2007, before anyone had moved here in the first place. So that was it. We've been trying to learn about this incredibly remote village in an incredibly remote part of the country, and the one person who had formally studied it most recently had done so before the village even existed. We had all this research and we were stumped. But now the rainy season was over, and we finally had a chance to send Lali and her crew to make the journey.
Oh shit, Lali and the crew. Lali and the boys.
Hi, Christopher. We're leaving now. So we are heading to Timothy.
Get him, Lali.
We are now on the way.
Lali brought a whole new team, including Rado Andriana-Nice, a filmmaker who captured scenes as they drove through the Madagascar countryside, of pineapple vendors, basket weavers, and rice farmers.
We are 1 hour and 45 minutes approximately from Tirumodit.
Tirumendid, the closest major city to the Yambo-Hebi. When they made it there, they picked up their final crew member, Zohar, a Tirumendid local who would be their guide.
Hello,
Hello, can you hear me now?
He told me he'd climbed the Ambohibi many times and even wrote his master's thesis on its water resources, but had never been to the village at its center. Antanditra, just 8 kilometers away. From there, they could travel to interview people living on the outskirts of the massif, the crater village's closest neighbors. The crew asked them what they thought made this place special. They met the people living closest to the crater village, but climbing all the way up the mountain would take a full day. Early the next morning, they set off for one last shot at reaching the village.
What you see behind me, there, the sign, there, it's the crater. It's like in the middle of nowhere. It's a beautiful nowhere, but still.
Until at last, they arrived.
So we are now approaching the crater.
And they saw the village up close, full of dozens of houses, livestock, and people. But as soon as they drove closer, things became tense.
Some people in the village think that we are a team of spies coming to take them guilty for something. So we are waiting for someone to do the facilitation. We still need to wait.
After 2.5 hours, one of the town's leaders came to talk.
We finally succeed to find our facilitator.
Trano eo amin'ny 500 tafo eo ary niponina eto zany hatramin'ny ankizy tonga amin'ny olon-dehibe mahatratra eo 300 isa eo. Zay moa zany mpifindramonina tonga eto dia mpifindramonina izay somary efa tery ny toerana misy anay any Romania any.
More specifically, they migrated from Manandriana, a district in the region of Moroni Mania in the central highlands of Madagascar, a journey of over 380 kilometers. Like the majority of people in Moroni Mania, the Ambohibi residents are Betsaleo, the third largest of Madagascar's 18 main ethnic groups. Meaning they didn't just migrate to a new home, they also became an ethnic minority, now living in a place where the Marina people are the majority. It still wasn't clear why they chose this place in particular, somewhere so remote, until they sat down to interview Raza Finitiala, one of the village's elders. And they gave it a name. Anoshpe Ambohibi, or Big Island Ambohibi. So we had an answer about why they lived here and why they traveled all this way to live in a place like this. It was for the water, it was for the soil, but more than anything else, it was for space. And it's easy to see why. In the entire district of Siramandeed, there are about 49 people per square kilometer. But in the migrants' original home of Manandriana, that density is more than twice as high. And for farmers like them, space to plant, to breed livestock, to build a life is everything. And then the villagers took Lolly and the crew to see what they'd done with all of that space. A massive field of hundreds of lemon and orange trees.
Efatra any amin'ny Romania zay no manana champ de culture ohatr'izao ihany.
The citrus are a cash crop, fruits grown for the purpose of selling at a market. But to sell their produce at a market, they have to transport it down the mountain to Antananitra, the same difficult journey that Lolly and her team had just done.
Nefa ny zavatra lalana 11 kilometra zany dia mahatsiaro sahirana kely mihitsy izay mponina eto le laratsin-dalana zany na amin'ny resaka moto na resaka fivezivezena moto sy ny tomobila zany somary sahirana mihitsy an'izay eto.
Ny antanay azy zany dia falifaly zahay amin'ny famokarana na ny fitena fa kosa antony resaka lalana sy fahamokana le lalaka isan-tarana no reo tena mampalahelo ny anakamo.
Remoteness was the thing that first fascinated us about this village. And it was a central part of their story. But it was a story that stretched far beyond this place. Madagascar has some of the least developed road networks in the world, with just 5 kilometers of road per 100 square kilometers of land. The majority of Madagascar's population lives in rural areas a lot like this one. But only a tiny fraction of that rural population lives within 2 kilometers of a road that's usable all year long, which means that almost 16 million people live essentially unconnected. Having better, more connected roads means an easier time accessing schools, hospitals, and markets, an easier time building a better life.
Hey, hi Christopher, how you doing? We've been to the crater finally. They live in a very, very, very remote area because this is like the center of the crater. And the way they live in the middle of the crater and they can sustain themselves, it's amazing. But to access there, it's not an easy life.
When I was going through all the footage Lolly's team sent us after they made it home, I couldn't stop looking at this perfect match to the first image we saw of the village. And it struck me. Apart from a few photos taken with cameras hundreds of kilometers up in the sky, there's basically no record of Noshbe Amroibi anywhere on the internet. Until right now. With the internet, we can look at just about any part of the planet. Some of the places we find might be made up, or might be surrounded by conspiracy theories instead of facts. And some we can't learn much about at all without showing up, asking questions, and letting the people there tell their story.
Most of our world is hidden in darkness. This is the deep sea, which is the vast majority of our planet. And even here on Google Earth, we're looking at digitally modeled shadings of the ocean floor, not pictures of the surface like we have on land. And forever I thought that's because there wasn't much to look at out here. Just an endless blue expanse. Hard to travel to, not much going on. But a few months ago, my colleague Christoph told me that there's something happening out here. Something worth looking at.
I have a story that I think we could do together that I think takes advantage of the things in the reporting that you're good at and the things in the reporting that I'm good at.
Christoph's thing is diving into mysteries using internet tools and open source intelligence. My thing is mapping. What happens next is a dedicated effort to peek behind the curtain of this pixelated, fuzzy blueness, to see what happens on the high seas when seemingly no one is looking. But lately, someone has been looking.
Contact to say we saw you. Okay, my wife. Phone number. The players who are out there who are not transmitting, and those are often some of the bad actors, because they're gone dark for a reason.
I think there's a real power in just making this data visible, making it accessible, so that anyone can see it. So there is no hiding this activity because it's all visible now.
And now we can put it all together on a map to shine a light on this dark space, to reveal tens of thousands of vessels that right now are on the high seas, hiding from the moon. Christoph and I want to find out what they're up to.
There's a lot going on down there that they're not showing us.
So how do we track ships?
I've been doing a bit of reading on this already, and the main system of keeping tracks of where ships are at any point in time is called the Automatic Identification System. AIS. It's the most generic name possible. At a basic level, allows any vessel to see the traffic that's happening around it and to be seen by that traffic. And when you look at like a map of what all of them look like, air traffic control for the entire ocean.
Jeez, wow, this is crazy.
It's a stunning amount of detail in real time that's publicly available.
I guess we're starting out with this reality that we had a pretty good set of eyes on the high seas because every one of these ships has its GPS turned on all the time by law.
Right.
So we had a pretty solid way of seeing what's going on out there.
It's pretty solid, but if you look at what an AIS transponder actually looks like, you can kind of see what the problem is. Because essentially these things are required to have on legally, but in practice, the ship's master can just press that button. They can turn it off and the ship effectively disappears from that map. They disappear from public view, and all of a sudden they're not tracked and they can get away with something fishy. For lack of a better word. Every time a ship does this, it's called going dark. Everything that they do in that time is called dark activity. So you'll hear a lot of these terms of going dark, dark vessels, dark activity. There's also this whole sector of if you are going through an area with really intense piracy, you might want to turn it off. And you're doing it at that point for your own safety.
Yeah.
Because real world pirates, if you have an AIS receiver, it's almost like a treasure map of where ships are around you. You can literally see where are the cargo ships around me in real time right now.
So that's allowed to flip the switch, press the button, turn it off if you are fearing for your safety.
Yeah. The caveat is that if they do that, they do have to put together a report after the fact. So you have to put in your ship logbook. You have to kind of explain why it happened. So here, for example, this is a ship that turned its AIS transponder off right here. Because it was warned about pirate activity close to Oman. We only know this because of this big safety report that it wound up having to put together. What's crazy is because it's all public, we can see this happening. They're doing this to be kind of under the cover of darkness. But if we just look at historical AIS records, we can see those disappearances happening. December 2012, this is a Spanish fishing vessel that's approaching Western Africa. Boom, it disappears. July 2015, there's an Australian fishing ship doing the same thing on the Marine Reserve, disappears. October 2014, there is this Panamanian fishing vessel that approaches the Galapagos, and then boom, disappears.
And these are the people we're after. This is what we want to understand is what do they do when they press that button and go dark? Right. The fact that you can see their last location And then where they pick up again is a context clue.
It's a clue for sure.
And there's so much data available. Like this is what I want to start to go down the rabbit hole on, is like aggregating all this data, looking for the trends, and trying to understand what we can learn about what happens when these ships go dark. So we're talking a lot about shadowy activity happening in the dead of night. It kind of has to do with the sponsor of today's video, who addresses the shadowy reality of data brokers, the people who buy and sell your data, your information on an open market, and is why you get so much spam in your life, like junk mail and random texts and robocalls, and why your name can sometimes be searchable on people's search site. It's gotten out of hand. Just get to sit back and watch. I like graphs, and they give you a graph of the total number of requests that they've sent out. In my case, 1,234 on 234. Wow, that's satisfying. The ones that are in progress, 222. Wow, these numbers are very satisfying. And completed, this is the most satisfying number, 1,012. There was 1,012 lists that had my name and information on it that no longer do, thanks to Incognito. And if you want to get really granular, you can go into like the detailed view and see all these sites that Incognito is monitoring, but he knows on all this stuff. You can even do these custom removals where if a site is spamming you, you can ask Incognito to go after them specifically. So go to incognito.com/Johnny Harris and use my code Johnny Harris with no spaces, and you get 60% off their unlimited plan. Again, that's incognito.com/Johnny Harris. Use the code. Thank you, Incognito, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the ocean. After looking through all this data, step one is to start filtering things down. And I started to filter down fishing, just fishing vessels. Let's just start there. That's a lot of vessels, but it's not every vessel that is being tracked.
I see that better now.
In doing that, you can start to see it's